This is Richard Solomon. You are listening to Taking Care of Business on WCWP 88.1 FM in Brookville, New York at WCWP.org. As you may know, April is Autism Awareness Month. And today in our studios, we have Paige Snider, the author of My Special Family. Paige, welcome to Taking Care of Business on WCWP.
Hi, thanks. It's so great to be here.
So you wrote this really incredible book, and if I understand this, you wrote this when you were 10 years old.
Yep, I wrote it when I was in 5th grade for a school project.
Well, this must have been some project because it looks like. Well, let's tell the audience. Got to bring our listeners in here. You wrote a book called My Special Family as a school project for what class and for what purpose?
So I was in this program called Magnet, and we had this thing called Expert Night where you had to pick a subject that you wanted to learn about and become an expert on, and then that night you would have to give presentations to people as they walked around and came over to your booth.
Okay.
So I figured I'm pretty much a pro with autism because I've been growing up with 2 autistic brothers. So I decided to make it into a children's book so that people would be able to understand it a lot better. And then it kind of turned into something separate from a school project altogether.
Now, how did you decide to write a children's book as a 10-year-old? Because that's an interesting concept. I mean, I wrote a children's book, but I was like much older when I did mine.
I think it was the fact that I was a kid, and I didn't have to change the way I was writing it for anyone. I could just write it in my own words, and that would make it a children's book, you know?
Well, did you also do the illustrations? Because there's some really great illustrations in this book.
Thanks. Yeah, I did them when I was 10 years old using a cup and water bottle caps for the eyes.
See, one of the things that we'll have to do is we have a YouTube channel. Maybe we'll just try to post a picture from the book so the people out there who can see this can visualize it. Because in many ways, these are great characters. Even though you may have used simple tools to be, maybe precise in your measurements, these are great pictures. Were you trying to transfer some kind of emotion through your pictures about your brothers and yourself? Because they're very wide-eyed, they're very dynamic.
I don't know. I think I might have just been into that sort of style of drawing, but they're definitely, because I made them all kind of uniform, but I would change like different aspects about them in it, and I guess that hopefully kind of made them more relatable because everyone could kind of envision themselves as, the one that had long hair, the one that had braids, or, that sort of thing.
When you were growing up, when did you first actually experience autism as a sibling? How did that kind of arise? Because
I mean, I can't really pinpoint the moment that I realized something was different, but I do remember that when I was in preschool, my brother would have issues like transitioning and going from different places, and there was a boy that was in my preschool class that did that too. So I was like, oh, Mom, Corey is just like this kid Peter, except Peter doesn't stuff his food. And that was kind of one of the first clues that there was something a little bit different going on,
Okay, and then obviously you had a second brother.
Yeah.
And now, okay, you were the oldest in your family?
No, I'm the youngest.
So you're the youngest. Oh, so how did you feel being the youngest and having sort of this whole situation, and maybe you're being not exactly like your brothers, both because of gender and because of other issues?
Right. I think it was always set apart because I was the only girl in the family, and that since I was the youngest, I was different from them, and I don't know when I realized that I was that different from them exactly, actually. But yeah, I'm sorry. I can't even pinpoint a moment where it was oh, I do this and they do that, and that makes us different,
Well, I mean, boys will be boys. Were they kind of rough with you? Because I know that when I've met girls who've had older brothers, they've always kind of said that older brothers were kind of rough in their play. They're a little more wrestling and football oriented.
Yeah. Well, I don't think my brother Corey, he's a gentle giant. I don't think he was ever intentionally rough with me. But then my other brother was kind of jealous that I was the little girl in the family. So he was basically treating me like any older brother would treat their little sister.
Now, all of you guys have obviously aged a little bit, so this is almost like a decade later.
Yeah.
How is your relationship now, and how is your awareness of autism help you either understand or relate to them in ways that maybe you couldn't as a smaller person because, you just know more now?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I do think our relationship has gotten closer because my brothers have become a lot better at expressing their emotions and not blowing up over small things. But I think having the understanding of what autism is, I know that even if one of them gets upset and starts trying to hit or whatever, I'm able to realize that that's because of the autism and it's not because they want to do it and they're trying to be mean.
How did you experience autism as a person who is affected directly by it? Because I know that autism is a spectrum disease or disorder where there's a whole continuum of autism manifestations. How did it directly impact on you? Did it confuse you? Did it upset you? Did it test your patience at times?
I mean, I think every sibling has their patience tested by their other siblings, but it was kind of a thing where I really didn't know anything. I didn't know any different. I didn't know that brothers were supposed to act one way and my brothers weren't acting that way because since I was the youngest, that's all I grew up with.
See, that's the advantage of being the youngest.
Yeah, but I was like, well, this is how it is, and I don't know any different, so.
Now, have they ever read the book either when you wrote it originally as a school project or today as a published book?
I don't know if they read it when I was younger, but since it's available as an ebook on iTunes, it comes with a narration built into it. So when I'm away at school, one of my brothers likes to play it so that he can hear me talking. But the thing is, they don't understand that they're any different from anyone else. They've never, asked, what's autism? Why do I go to this school and not to that school? They think everything they're doing is totally normal, and if some kid at their school is doing something weird, they're like, what's wrong with this guy,
Now, have they looked at their pictures of themselves as characters?
Yeah, I think they dig it. One of my brothers is one of them is at the school that they go to. It's a kind of a creative school, so you can take writing and drawing and art and all that stuff. And so one of them is working on a book called My Special Sister.
Oh, that's great.
To try to branch off of what I'm doing.
Have you seen them evolve? How have you seen them grow, and have you seen them challenged in their growth and overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I think one of my brothers had very intense anger issues, and when I was in 12th grade, I made a documentary about autism for one of my classes, and he had this huge meltdown, and I got it on tape. And he saw the documentary, and he hated seeing himself like that. And that was kind of a turning point for him, where now he hasn't had a meltdown in probably a year. And I think it was just because that was something that he became kind of aware of, and he didn't like seeing himself that way.
Do you see yourself as sort of a therapeutic agent for your two brothers? Seriously, because you're able to sort of offer a reflection of maybe a different way of doing things.
I mean, I never thought of myself as that way. I think it's just being a sibling and being able to maybe say things to them that other people couldn't, hey, knock it off, you're being a big jerk for doing this or whatever.
So
I think that even siblings of people that aren't autistic can be are kind of able to talk sense into their siblings maybe more than their parents are, or teachers or something.
Well, do they look up to you? As much as a sibling can.
I look up to them, so.
So tell me a little bit about this movie, because this is actually a very exciting piece of information. This documentary is called what?
So I actually currently working on a documentary, and then I did a documentary in high school. The first one, it doesn't really have a name. It's just called Autism, a documentary.
Okay.
And I did that, and that was another thing. I have all these school projects that fall on me, and I end up making something for that class, and then people end up liking it more than I thought they would. So this one...
So you need to stay in school and keep doing projects so you can be a famous author and movie maker.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm getting some stuff out of taking these classes. So
tell me about the current documentary.
So the current documentary that I'm doing is my brother's, the school they go to is a theater school, and one of the students that goes there wrote a screenplay like 7 years ago. And I contacted them about shooting a documentary and maybe working on a script with the students there, and they were like, we have this kid, and he wrote the script that he's been dying to see something happen with. So they sent me the script, I picked out a couple of scenes from it, and then I went over to my brother's school, and they have, like, awesome actors there, like, because they do, like, big productions and stuff. So they got some of the actors together, and we, in like 3 days, we threw together a couple of scenes from this film, and then I had some friends there that were filming it to make it a documentary. And then tonight, I'm actually going to the Belmore Movie Theater to premiere the film that we worked on there.
Well, I wish you a lot of success with that. Do you have a website or something that people, or YouTube or something that people can, when this show airs, especially in the future, because every April we'll probably do something on autism as a public service. Is there something we can point people
to? If you go on the Bish Bash Books website, which is the publishing company, if you go to their website and you go to the My Special Family page, it has the YouTube video of the documentary I shot, and then if you click on that, you'll be linked to my YouTube account. But fair warning, there's a lot of covers of me playing the ukulele on there. So
did George Harrison, so you're in good company. So as somebody who's a member of the community at large, how do you see your role as sort of spreading awareness and understanding for autism, especially for people who don't have the unique perspective that you do have? You know, you grew up with it. It was sort of, a part of your just whole existence. How do you help people who may be thrust into a situation like this to help them either understand or cope or give them certain tools that they may not have without someone like you to help them?
Well, they should definitely buy my book.
Without question.
But I think that having this information about what exactly autism is and how it's explained in the children's book especially, and then like coming from me, it's coming from a much more personal level instead of facts you would get online or lists of things you should look for, how you should act around people with autism. So I think that being able to connect to people on a more personal level makes it a lot easier for them to understand what's going on. So
do you have any more books or movies kind of like in the works that we can like maybe leak out to the public through the radio here at 88.1 FM?
I don't currently. I feel like I should hop on that bandwagon while I can. No, but for now it's just My Special Family. Maybe you'll see My Special Sister coming out soon.
Well, you know what? Maybe then you'll need a trilogy. Well, you know what? You do the box set with the movie and the 2 books, and then this interview and the whole bit.
Exactly. So it was a big package, and maybe I could sign some stuff if people wanted that.
All right. First of all, I think you wrote a great book. I think people should go out there and definitely digitally download it, because in the old days I'd say go out to the store and buy a copy, but that's all passé.
Yeah. Well, actually, you can buy it on Amazon.com or you can buy it through iTunes, but actually there's been kind of a demand for hard copy, so I'm not sure exactly when. Sometime this month it's going to be available as a paperback on Amazon.com as well.
And one last thing. for the show, I may need a little caricature of myself, and so if you can maybe draw me with some wide eyes and some, I don't have any hair, but we'll have to work something out.
You send me a picture of that, and I'll get on that for you.
All right, that's great. So look, from the bottom of our hearts here, thank you for running something that's very important to the public out there. You did a great book. I look forward to seeing other great works, and you're certainly welcome to come back on the radio and talk about future projects. So wish you the best.
I'd be honored to. Thanks for including me in your show.
All right, well, thank you for being with us, and continued success, and good luck to your brothers, too, and your whole family.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to them.
All right, it's Richard Solomon, 88.1 FM.